So, all right. So my topic for this week is family and relationships.
Like how your family fits into your relationship or interacts with and whatnot.
Yeah. So basically, how do you deal with family, difficult family? How should
Introducing family,
exactly. And I guess friends could fall into that category too. But we could start off with perhaps how do you introduce and when do you introduce your significant other to your family?
Well, normally I would say to give it a decent amount of time. Like, again, I don't want to put like specifics on because I know there's people watching this who are going to be like, all right, I have to wait so-and-so months before. But I would say, like, if you're really into each other and have gotten to know each other pretty well in a month, I would say you could start with friends in a month.
Yeah.
And then I would say within like 2 or 3 months, you could introduce your family. However, with you, it was not very long after because you like moved and then we decided to move into a different apartment. So you had an office space. And then I was like, oh, well, my mom was planning to come.
Yeah.
And she still thinks I live at the other apartment. So we're going to figure this out. So you met my mom like pretty quick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, luckily my parents are very cool parents. So I'm never like nervous about people meeting my parents or like back in the past, like, you know, I'm never like, what's going to happen?
And I was like, oh, your mom is Paula Dean. Like,
she has a country accent for sure.
Because it's like, I was like, where did that come from? Because you don't have any country accent at all. But then she definitely has a country accent. So I was like, wow, she's, Nicole's worked hard to not be country.
Yeah, I have. I definitely have. But yeah, so you met her pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And then I think a few months later, again, my parents planned to come down. And this time my dad was coming and I actually...
You
had already committed. Yeah, I had already committed to working a dance competition. So I was in like Miami, Fort Lauderdale doing a dance competition. And you picked my parents up from the airport and had dinner with them and all this stuff. So
yeah, I had to meet your 6'4" dad with lots of guns, like by myself.
Look, you didn't bring any guns to Florida. You met him in Florida.
Like, yeah, so. I'm living with your daughter. This is our place where we live together.
Yeah, you say that like when Sophia doesn't bring somebody home, you're not going to be that dad.
No, but I mean,
your guns are on full display all the time. So,
but we had it. I mean, it was fun. We had a good time. We immediately took to each other, your dad and I, and we're just talking like. Like girls.
I was texting my mom. She's like, they haven't stopped. So she was like, I finished eating before them. My mom is the slowest eater ever. And when she texted me that she finished eating before you guys, I was like, they haven't stopped talking. Like that's the only way.
I love your mom and dad. They're awesome. They're like seriously super awesome. So, but
they'd be happy to hear that. But I would say though that like, I didn't introduce a lot of people to them when I wasn't in a lot of serious relationships and that's what it would take. But I do feel like you should be cautious to some extent because you're also like inviting your parents to become attached to this person. And if you're not really that serious, then like, it's just kind of like another person for this your family to remember. Or then like, what if you break up and then they can't keep the people straight, you know, if you're like dating a bunch of people. So I would say like friends after a month, if you're serious, and then parents you could do within 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
And, you know, one of my friends just met her boyfriend's parents and they all went to dinner and, you know, I feel like it is kind of awkward sometimes the first time. I mean, if you're someone like me who like doesn't like the awkward silence, you're just going to talk and try to make it more fun anyway. But it can be hard because you're like, you don't know what people are going to think and, you know, like what your partner has said to their parents and you're meeting them for the first time or lack thereof. Because I know, you know, like sometimes your partner doesn't, you know, say very much and then they just kind of meet you or they tell them everything and then they meet you. So it's like, it can be different degrees. But
Yeah.
I mean, I was pretty nervous meeting your family just because of like our circumstances. Like they're lovely. They're like the sweetest people.
Yeah.
But I was like, this is like, it was kind of scary for me.
Yeah,
Because I'm like,
sure
this is like not what they were expecting. And like, what if they're so like blown away by what you're going through that like they don't really want to get close to me? And at some point, like your sister, like one of them said to you that she didn't really know what was going on and didn't want to get too close. And I don't blame her for that.
Yeah, of course,
know. And now we all get along.
Yeah.
And like your family's met my family. We've had Thanksgiving together, and you know, we've blended all together. And so it feels so good because your family is so warm and welcoming and loving. And, you know, my family tries to be the same way.
Yeah,
they do a good job. But you know, sometimes the circumstances does make it a little bit scarier to meet parents for the first time, right? Because you don't know how they're going to respond or like what they're going to say or bring up. And then you're like, oh God. But it was not, I was nervous, but they were so nice and they welcomed me in with open arms from the very beginning. So like we don't have any.
Yeah, luckily we haven't had to. I mean, a lot of people have gone through the opposite, and part of the reason to wait some period of time before entry. Well, you should definitely make sure that you're stable because you don't want to be having fights,
right?
And then introducing the parents, and now you're like, I'm breaking up,
rocky,
and then you're back together with the person, and then now,
now you have to explain it back and forth over and over and over and over.
Yeah,
again.
that becomes difficult for sure, and then also, like you said, you're kind of disrupting other people's lives with your, and you want them to take it seriously, you know, that this is.
My mom, after I got cheated on a long time ago, she was like, I don't want to meet any of your boyfriends unless like you're super serious. So like that also that's just because she also was so involved with him, right? Like we all went on vacation and she was so intertwined with him and our relationship that it really hurt her. Like she wasn't doing it to be like mean or anything. Like she really was hurt.
Yeah.
And so I got her perspective. But then at the same time too, I was like, now I'm afraid too to like tell her about somebody. And then like, what if it doesn't work out? Like you said. So it is important to be like stable because even if you are stable, like something could happen like that, you know, and you are introducing and involving someone else in their lives too. And they're going to have feelings about it, you know, like, so it's important to kind of figure out where you guys are at least to like the best of your ability and kind of be like, is this someone I do want to introduce to my family and have intertwined with all of that?
Right.
Or is this something that maybe I need to wait a little bit longer? Or maybe, you know, now that I'm reflecting that this probably isn't the best idea. You know, there's so many different ways because maybe you just need to wait a little bit longer. Like maybe right now, 2 or 3 months in doesn't feel right, but maybe 6 months in feels right. I mean, I would say if it's a whole year, then you're kind of on the verge of like, what are you hiding?
Right. You're supposed to be getting engaged by then. So or somewhere around that timeline.
Right. Or at least no.
No. Yeah, exactly. If you're for that long.
Yeah. But, I would say that.
I mean, even when what some of the stuff we went through is probably hard on, you know,
that's
your
true.
Family and my family and stuff, you know, because, you know, initially, but.
Right.
Yeah. So
that's the hard part though. When you know, you care about somebody and you want them to be a part of your family, your entire family. Yeah. And then if something happens, then they have to find out about it. Like you can't.
Exactly.
You mean, I guess you like, and that's not to say we'll get into this, I know, further on into this episode, but I'm not saying you tell all your business to your family.
Yeah.
But and like if things get rocky or you separate or whatever, you do have to tell your parents that. I mean, unless it's so short that like it, you know, you don't tell anybody about it. But, you know, you do have to be honest with them and let them know what's going on because too, then they can support you. Yeah. And they should support you in the right way rather than like screw him, you know, like tear the person down because you don't know if you're going to get back together or what's going to happen.
Right.
So it is complicated. And then some parents don't act that way. You know, some parents blatantly tell the person they don't like them or, you know, and or like the mom, when it comes to the son, is like so overprotective that she almost is trying to run off the girl. Like I never dealt with any of that like personally, but I've heard plenty of stories about things like that. Or like, you know, just the person's partner doesn't get along with the parents to the point where it like either causes the child to have a strained relationship with the parents and have to make tough decisions, or like, you know, that there's like a constant battle between your spouse and your parents and you're like, you're still involved, but you know, it's so many different things that could happen.
Oh yeah. Better than